This episode is brought to you in part by the Saltbox Brewing Company. The Saltbox Brewing Company takes pride in crafting some of Nova Scotia's finest beers and ciders, with each product telling a story from local history or the amazing communities around the brewery's 2 locations. Whether you're in Mahone Bay or Wolfville, Nova Scotia, you can stop in at one of the numerous weekly events happening at either of the Saltbox tap rooms. Visit saltboxbrewingcompany.ca for more information. Saltbox is also available at your local NSLC in Nova Scotia. Enjoy responsibly. Welcome once again to the Friendly Heckler Podcast, and it is me who does the heckling around these parts, and I am Zakary Miller, your host. This is my favorite podcast, actually, and I hope it's yours too. Let me know where you're listening from or anything you're up to, anything you want to say to the podcast, anything you want to say to the show, who knows? Maybe I'll even read it on air if it's really sweet or really insane, so please send anything you want to say to thefriendlyheckler@gmail.com or visit me over at zakarymiller.com to find me, the podcast, live dates, yada, or even more yada. My guest on this episode is a fun one because for me it's a bit of personal history with my connection to Nova Scotia and artists who were playing here. And funny enough, he's not even an artist from Nova Scotia. He hails originally from San Diego, which I learned, but really grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we talk a lot about the New Mexico area, and I hope you're into that because I have an obsession with that part of the world, though I've never been. So let's bring the podcast down there. That would be amazing. My guest, without any further ado, though, is the one and only Caleb Miles. When I first moved to Nova Scotia in the 20-teens, I guess, I saw his name everywhere, playing on every album of local artists, on dozens of posters, too. And everyone suggested I see him live. When I finally did, I was flabbergasted. I mean, my flabber was completely gasted. He was so good. He's got so much going on in his brain musically, though, hence his repertoire. Like, he probably have 100 albums, I want to say. I bet he's on about 100 albums and written somewhere close to that. He is not bound by any genre, though, in any of his playing. This guy's on everything. He's the kind of guy who may even show up to the local open mic with, like, just pedals, guitar pedals, and do a set of experimental noise music, or show up another night and blow the roof off the place with his guitar playing with everybody who shows up to play with him. I love Caleb, though, because he's also got a lot to say personally. Like right off the top, we jump into the iPads on stage debate, which has come up so many times on this podcast. But I freaking love that Caleb wanted to get into it right away because it just shows the kind of person he is, too. We talk about how he thought he would once take Ringo Starr's place in the Beatles, about his time playing New Mexican Roadhouse bars. Wow. Some of the dark stories actually behind his beautiful songs even, and his personal rules around learning and playing guitar, which I found fascinating, or playing music in general. They're really great rules. So here he is. Please welcome to the stage, Caleb Miles!
Representing.
Beauty opener.
Thank you.
I was going to friendly heckle you to play that song.
Yeah.
Satya, right?
Yes.
Oh, I love that you open with an instrumental.
I'm going to pull something out of my butt right here.
For
The
other
podcast listeners can't see this. But
Good, yeah, but you had to tell them. That didn't actually come out of your butt, though. It's a capo, right?
my pocket.
It's a capo that's pretty
On my
small.
Yeah.
You keep it in your back pocket?
Just now.
Well, you're driving, too?
No.
Okay. Phew, that would hurt.
No, for convenience, because I don't have my stool here.
Yeah, you could accidentally pinch yourself
I
with the
pulled it
capo.
out of my butt because I don't have my stool.
Wait, you have like a stool with like built-in hooks and stuff? Do you have like a Batman stool, like a bat stool with all these like utility belt kind of aspects?
You would think that they would have like a micro. Well, I know they have the beer holders for
Yeah.
the micro stands,
Yeah,
but
priorities,
to have like a
right?
little beer holder, capo table.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I'm not there yet. I need a sponsorship from
How
Long
do you
McQuaid.
feel about all these people with the? They have their like little laptop things and they read their lyrics
Caleb.
off the mic stand laptop thing.
You haven't even listened to the episode, actually like 3 episodes where this has come up before, have you?
Okay, no,
No,
I have not.
okay, awesome.
It's a thing then. It's a.
Do you want to know
It's
how
an
I feel
issue.
about it?
Well, tell me and then I'll tell you a little story too.
I think it looks ugly. Like, I think if you watched A Streetcar Named Desire and Marlon Brando was reading off of an iPad, it wouldn't be the same movie. Or Planet of the Apes. You did it! Actually, that one kind of makes
How about
sense.
Bob Dylan was singing his Hard Rain, and he's going, I know my song well, as long as I can read it off my laptop.
Well, he's probably got teleprompters now, eh? I wonder if he does.
I don't know. I would be disappointed if he did.
With that many songs up there, I
I hope
guess. I don't blame a lot of people at a certain like age, especially and with that standard where it's that many songs, or especially open mics. That's a big one that's come up on this in this conversation before.
Yeah.
Open mics. That's where you gotta you're just getting to know those lyrics. That makes sense.
I don't think you should be on stage if you don't have your words
right
memorized.
on stage. That's a good limit, right?
Yeah.
If it's just like a coffee shop, then maybe.
Yeah.
Or no, that's part of the gig for you, right? Is the memorization?
Well, that's yeah. So my story in relation to this is when I give guitar lessons, I don't allow my students to use a tuner. They have to tune their guitar by ear. And of course, most of them are smart enough to figure out to use their tuner, and they tune their guitar before they come. And then when we tune up, it's like, oh, your guitar is perfectly in tune. But yeah, if their guitar's out of tune, they cannot use a tuner.
And you know when they're cheating you, don't you?
Well, there's a guitar that is tuned using a tuner sounds a certain way. And I would argue that it's not in tune.
Do you have perfect pitch?
No.
But really good relative pitch, I guess?
I don't know.
Each instrument you pick up, you tune to the instrument then?
Yes.
Okay.
Because, and here's the thing, like if you listen to guitar players, if we're just talking about guitar players.
We are now.
We are now. So Santana, you've all heard of Carlos Santana. When he plays, he's always a little sharp, right?
Oh.
And, Jimmy Page or something is always sort of a little, people tune their guitars differently before this guitar tuner thing.
Right.
Where you're tuning the open strings. But then when you play a chord, a D chord and a G chord, what strings are open, what strings are fretted, and what kind of guitar you're playing, or the quality of your guitar, whatever. It's not necessarily in tune. You have to temper it, yeah?
Yeah.
Just like a piano. If you're tuning a piano, you have to temper it. You can't just make the notes on what the quartz crystal says, because it'll sound
crystal
awful.
Piano.
Yeah. So there you go.
Do you tune? Do you have a piano in your house?
Not in my house, but yes, I do.
Would you tune?
It's out in the yard.
That's
Just
amazing.
in the studio.
Would
yeah.
you tune to a piano in a studio situation then, or
Well,
would it
sometimes
be
I have to, because if
Okay.
my piano's gone wonky, right,
and
a
that's
little
part of the
bit,
charm?
and you're going to put a piano on the tune, then you best tune to the piano before you put it on there, because you can't,
Yeah. Now, I kind of said this in the warm-up that you were a multi-instrumentalist, but for the podcast listeners that don't know you, you play every instrument I can think of.
No.
Yeah, I guess
I
not
don't play
bagpipes.
trumpet. I don't play anything with a bow, like a violin, cello. I can't.
But you could.
I've tried, and it's
Oh, okay.
scary.
All right.
Bagpipes. I don't play bagpipes.
You're a really good piano player, though. That's why I thought of it, because on your recordings, it's crazy. I thought about asking you to gig with me just on piano.
But I have all the time in the world to get those piano parts on the recordings there.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
Does it take you a lot of time?
It depends. Sometimes.
One thing I want to acknowledge with your recordings is you told me you do everything in single takes. So every instrument that you play on your recordings, which is every instrument, you have to run it all the way through the recording. You don't do like little chop-ins. You don't do any editing. It has to be start to finish.
Typically, sometimes you can. It depends on the part. So, say there was a guitar part, and it went, rhythm, 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 solo, rhythm, rhythm, rhythm. I might do those in separate parts. But when we were talking, you were asking about the drums in particular.
Yes.
So for things like drums, bass, anything that would normally, if I could clone myself and I could cut it live in my band,
Okay, soon.
and you're trying to
Don't
get a take, that's kind of what I want on my song. So like you were saying, well, do you just get so far with the drum part, and then when you mess up, patch it in and pick up and go
Like
as far as you
most
can? and
people
you can.
do, yeah.
And it takes so long to stop it and then set your markers and your roll-in time and all this stuff, and then you have to pick it up and do it. It's
Yeah.
just like, no, I just
Why-
keep doing it until I get a complete take.
Why do you choose to do it like that, though? Is it an aesthetic choice, or is it just like comfort for you as a musician? Or is it sort of one of these rules that you keep for yourself, like with the students?
It's not really a rule. It's because when I started recording, I was a teenager. It was the 80s. We didn't have any kind of Pro Tools digital editing thing. I had a 4-track
Sweet cassette.
that I borrowed for a weekend, and I had to get all my tunes down. So I would practice the parts, and then when I had the thing, it was like go, and you had to get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your?
It was just, that's how I learned to do it. There wasn't any other way.
Did you just record demos in that way, or do you have like an album that you put out that way?
I would call them tapes. So
The secret Caleb Miles tapes.
Yeah, I made one, my first one was 17, then 18, 19, 20, and 21. So
Whoa.
there's 5 albums, if you will, and they're 45 minutes sides of 90-minute tapes.
Cool.
And they were 4 tracks, reel to reel. So like the first one that I did is just 4 tracks. It's like guitar, vocal, bass, and maybe a lead or whatever. And then I figured out that, because I mixed that to cassette, so my cassette was the master or whatever. But then I thought, well, what if I took the 4 tracks and mixed them to the cassette and then put those back on the 2 tracks and added 2 more tracks?
You figured that out on your own?
I figured that out on my own.
Wow. Okay.
And it sounded horrible.
Why?
Because of the cassette, It was
like too much.
So then I happened to live across the street from a studio, which was called Audiotech.
Where is this? Is this in
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque?
Yeah.
Okay, which is where you're from. I
Yeah.
want to get that out of the way. Yes.
Yeah, Albuquerque.
Okay.
And so then I figured, well, I'll do that same thing, but I'll take the 4 tracks over to the studio, and then they'll mix it, or I would mix it down, like rent an hour of time or whatever, and bring that mix back and then add the 2 tracks. And I did that a couple years. And then I discovered, Terry's going to get a kick out of this, I discovered you could bounce in the machine. So you could what I would do is if I needed a click, I would put that on the 1 track.
First track, okay.
Put drums, bass, and guitar on the other 3 tracks. Mix those 3 tracks over the click track.
Yeah, okay. And
then fill 2 tracks, mix that down to 1, and then fill it 2 more tracks. And it got me 7 whole tracks.
You had to do that in like 1 weekend sometimes?
Yes.
Wow. Why would you have these crazy
Angela
deadlines?
lived with me she had just started living with us.
Wow.
That week.
That's how you guys met? Is you would just like hole up in your room for like a
No,
full weekend?
she wasn't going into my room in those days. She had her own room.
I know, you were just hidden
And
away.
she was
though,
like,
right?
shut up.
That's amazing.
Drums in the bedroom.
Is there any like songs that you wrote back then, or any even like riffs and stuff, exercises that you still play, like that have stuck around for you over all the years?
Wow. I don't know if there's anything. When COVID hit, I went through because it was just a really good opportunity to sort of wrap up a bunch of projects that I had, recording things that I'd started and not really gone anywhere with. And I did re-record a batch of like 5 songs. It's not even an album, but old tunes from those days. Like a couple of them were things that I'd recorded back then, and they were so bad because I wasn't using a click.
Okay.
And so what I did was I'd play the guitar part first, and then put a bass and a guitar, and then try to overdub drums over that.
Oh, it's the times it's sliding.
So I wouldn't play that for any of you, but I did like do the modern version of it, which is a bit more slick.
What collection is that you put out?
I don't think that one's actually up on the Bandcamp or anything.
That's another one from your secret Caleb Miles collection. You're like Prince. You have a secret vault of songs.
Yeah, well.
Will you play me another song, actually, now that we're saying the word song over and over again?
Yeah. Here.
I'll let you choose this one, because
I'm
I
going to
technically
tune my
chose the first
guitar
one.
by ear. Behold.
Behold. I love that you make the students do that. That's so awesome. I think it's good for music teachers to have ruthless rules like that.
To be able to tune their guitar.
Yeah, or just to like be like, you're not showing up here with one of them digital machines. Just teaching them natural skills. It's like teaching people to forage in the wild.
Well, yeah. If you can tune your guitar by ear, then maybe you can also play tunes by ear. Yeah.
What are you going to play for us?
Right now?
Yeah.
Because I have this guitar handy, I'm going to play a tune called Silver Spoon. which is on my Strange Weather CD. Yay.
Awesome.
And because my beautiful wife is in the audience, I will give her credit where credit is due. She was listening to CBC and heard this interview with this woman who had written a book. I believe it was called Hangings of Nova Scotia, or Nova Scotia Hangings. Anyway, it's just sort of a compendium of all the wonderful hangings that they used to do.
Wow.
The British. They're
yeah.
hard justice.
They did it in Kentville, Nova Scotia, until 20 years ago?
Right.
No, it was like 80 years ago, but
He's
still.
heckling you. And so this is a true story. A servant in this household was, a silver spoon went missing, and they blamed her for it. And I think if your crime was, more than 5 shillings worth of damage, then death. That was it.
Wow.
And so they hanged her. And then this all happened in the winter. And when spring came and the snow melt, they found it had fallen into a snowbank, which is why they couldn't find it, because they didn't have snowblowers back then.
Oh, that's heavy.
So Angela heard this story and she wrote this poem. And when I came home, she's like, I heard this story. I wrote this poem. Make a song. And so I
Nice.
took her poem and sort of adapted it so that I could sing it. It goes like this. Get my thing here. Silver spoon gone missing, nowhere to be found. Silver spoon gone missing, snow deep on the ground. Snow deep on the ground. We'll go and fetch little Mary, the girl with the shifty eye. I know she stole my silver spoon, but I'll take back my prize. Said I'll take back my prize. Where'd you get that pretty new dress? You can't afford no gown. Did you trade my silver spoon to wear it on the town? To wear it on the town. I did not steal no silver spoon, the one that can't be found. My mama made my new dress from a quilt that was handed down. A quilt that was handed down. Fingers, they start pointing and accusations made. They put a rope round Mary's neck and they laid her in her grave. They laid her in her grave. Now when the snow had melted, sun shone all around. Silver spoon was laying there on the warm green ground. On the warm green ground.
love how much they wanted to hear that song too. That's really exciting. You end that with such a major chord, such a positive chord for that song.
Well, the sun came out.
That's nice. And found the spoon, and all was well in the land.
Yeah, look, our spoon.
Yay! Let's go make soup. Oh, that's awesome. Actually, we should go back a bit because that's such a good bluesy number, an example of like your tunes. Oh, you're gonna limbo. For the podcast listeners, Caleb just limboed under the microphone so he could put a guitar away. This is such a precarious setup all the time. But you were born in Albuquerque. I don't want to say you're from Albuquerque.
Wrong.
You're from. Oh, where were you born?
Haha. Sharad you are.
Sure.
I was born in San Diego, California, ladies and
Cool.
gentlemen. Which, yeah, they're getting some weather these days.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mirror image of ours, eh? In this weird way.
Yeah.
Atmospheric rivers and all.
They're not used to weather. San Diego is like, if it goes below, well, you guys are Celsius, but I'll say in Fahrenheit, if it's like in the 50s, it's bone-chilling cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't use Celsius yet? Haven't you been
In the
here
States?
for years? No, you personally.
Me. I can convert. I have a system of conversion, which is perfect.
Oh, okay. But you haven't been
Here's what's
baptized.
interesting, is I use Fahrenheit above freezing in my
Okay.
mind. Below freezing, I think in Celsius.
Because aren't they the same? Doesn't it
No.
hit the 0 point?
No,
isn't
it's
it?
just
No?
that I've never lived anywhere this cold. And so
Okay, yeah.
it's like, wow, it's -5. It's -10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Nova Scotia now?
Since 2005.
Okay, yeah.
Closing in on 20 years.
20 years. That's amazing. But you've played so much music in the States. Like, I found out that you were in a band called A Murder of Crows.
A Murder of Crows.
A murder. Sorry, I said a murder of
I
crows?
thought you said the.
No, probably a. Oh,
Okay.
does somebody have a timer going off? Do you have to go?
Your potatoes are ready.
A med. Okay, that's okay.
It's-
That's okay. I'm so sorry to draw attention to it.
That's fair.
Yeah, that is totally fair. I'm the friendly heckler just became the friendly asshole right there. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have to take your lay off, Zach? Okay. Anyway,
A Murder of Crows.
A Murder of Crows. And what would you call the style of music that you were playing back then?
In A Murder of Crows?
Yeah.
I don't know, Angela. What would you call that? Hippie. I would call it hippie punk music.
Okay.
So it was pretty. If you say hippie music, you think.
Oh, okay.
And we were like.
Yeah. Way more. Okay.
I hate my guitar, but I love the way it makes me feel. Life is a dream that became too real.
Oh, so you're still tripping a bit.
Huh?
Still tripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Oh
course.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
Can we
okay,
talk about that?
That explains the youth a bit right off the bat. I don't even
Yeah,
need to-
it was pretty. It was if I had to seriously say what that band was most like, it reminded me a lot of the Patti Smith group.
Oh, okay.
In terms of that was sort of a punk band, but really, if you listen to it, it's a rock band.
Right.
Right. So kind of that vibe in terms of the music. And then we had a singer who, he vocalized, let's put it that way. Very sort of gritty, snarly voice, and he loved to yell at people.
Okay.
And he had just like hilarious songs. Yeah.
They are hilarious. I listened to the album. That's wicked. And where did you start with music then? Were you a hippie kind of were you a Beatles kid?
Yeah, definitely a Beatles kid. I was born in 1965 in Southern California, so if you can imagine, the air was just full of, right?
Yeah.
Turn, and Dylan and
Okay.
yeah, Beatles, and I grew up listening to Donovan, and my mom had a great record collection, and Ravi Shankar and
Holy.
Miles Davis, and yeah. the Carmina Burana. Hey.
What? You deep cuts.
And
right now.
because
Okay, go.
I was listening to all this stuff, I was like, I think my first word was ball.
Yes.
My second word was song. And my mom said that song was differentiated from a ball because ball was anything that was round, but the round things, the round balls that made music were song. So I was like and she says that I actually took my first steps. Like I got up off of my quadrupedal scooting around to change because the record had come to the end and I wanted to turn it over. So that's when I stood up.
Did you do it too? Are they like?
I don't know, but I've been
First
operating a
steps and first
turntable for
record.
as long as I can remember. Yeah.
Do you remember what?
So, yeah.
Did they ever tell you what record it was?
It was probably Revolver.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
They didn't make you listen to any weird kids records from back then?
No.
Peter and the Wolf?
And
or
I
any
used
of
to manage a record store. I used to work in a record store. Well, a couple of record stores. But this one record store, people would come in and it's like, do you have any kids' music? And it's like, well, we do have a kids' music section.
that? You mean Frank Zappa?
And I'll take you over there. And you'd look and it'd be all the Raffi and the baby dinosaur and the purple unicorns and all this kind of stuff. What would you recommend for my kid to listen to? And I was like, what would I recommend? I would recommend Jimi Hendrix. Right?
Yeah.
Ravi Shankar.
Why
Miles
not?
Davis. Bach.
Yes. Yes.
They're kids. It's a blank template. Give them good stuff. Give them
everything.
the most evolved music that there is. But don't give them this dumb crap.
How long until they gave you an instrument then? Or were instruments lying around your house already? Or were you...
So when I was a kid, I wanted to be... I would say I wanted to be a drummer, but that's not necessarily true.
Okay.
I wanted to be Ringo Starr, specifically.
Like, not even... You didn't go through the astronaut phase. You didn't go through the fireman phase. You went straight
No.
for Ringo Starr.
Yeah. So in my concept of the universe, the Beatles were going to wait for me to grow up. And Ringo was just there holding my place. And then when I got big enough, I was going to join the Beatles and Ringo was going to do something else.
Caleb, it's nice that you're finally here.
Yeah.
Nice.
It didn't quite work out that way, did it?
I kept your seat warm.
I remember looking at an atlas for the first time and realizing how far San Diego was from England and being
far as it
devastated. Just like, wow, like this isn't going to work out.
Is that why you took off to Albuquerque? Is it because you're like a little bit closer? I walked so far.
When we moved, we actually moved to Taos, New Mexico,
Cool.
which is a little town way up in the mountains in northern New Mexico, in the Sangre de Cristos.
I have to say I'm friggin' fascinated by New Mexico. I've never been, and I really am fascinated by it. So every word you say right now is just like...
I would
wow,
recommend
oh,
it.
Yeah,
If-
it's like ice cream in my
When
eyes.
people say, yeah, we're going to Arizona, and I'm like, oh, it breaks my heart. It's like, you're so close.
Oh.
Like, don't go to Arizona. Don't go to Colorado. Go to New Mexico. For sure. It's a whole different thing. So anyway, my grandparents who lived in San Diego were like, okay, you're moving away. And for your last birthday, what do you want? Well, try to get you what you want when you move. And I was like, a drum set. Right on. So
Perfect
my
thing to
birthday
get before
came or
moving.
whatever, and I went over there, and there was like this weird triangular cardboard box. And I was like, that's not a drum set. And I remember thinking, it might be a cymbal or a stand
One
or
at a time.
part of a drum set or like what. And I opened it up, and they bought me a guitar, this little kid guitar. And I was like severely disappointed. I was like,
Oh, no
thanks.
way.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. But then I moved to Taos, and we were living way out in the country and nothing to do.
So you got good at guitar.
I'd already listened to all these Beatles records, right? So I knew all those tunes. And my mom played guitar. She played like classical guitar, Segovia and things like that.
Nice.
Fairly well in my memory.
Was it a nylon string guitar that
Yeah.
they got you too?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I wasn't allowed to touch her guitar. Although,
She had her own guitar already. That
yeah,
you
she
weren't-
had her guitar, but it was like, a precious thing. And as a kid, I wasn't, encouraged to touch it. Although when she left the house, I was all over it.
I love that your guitar is like a rifle for some kids. Like that's so sweet.
But I somehow put it. I realized that if the guitar was in tune, some of the strings you could play them and hit the same notes. So like I can remember, like the first note of Day Tripper was like. I've got a capo on, so if you do have perfect pitch, that's not the note, but the same thing. Open
It's
E.
one off, yeah.
And I just started playing open notes.
That's the first thing you did as a
Yeah.
kid with guitar?
Yeah,
That's
and then
so
I started
cool.
playing with my thumb like this.
We all played that.
Yeah. Like that. And that's how I started.
That's already very bluesy too. So you were doing bass lines for yourself right off
If
the
you're
bat.
playing a guitar on one string and it has dots on it like mine did, my mom's didn't because hers was a classical
Fancy,
guitar.
yeah.
But if you just go up and down the strings playing the dots, what do you get? E, G, A, B. You get, right?
Pentatonic.
Which, there you go.
You were hooked.
Yeah.
Is this your origin story for why you're such a blues musician? Why you're so blues focused?
I'm not.
You're like a blues superhero to me. Are you kidding? Yeah, this is
No,
your.
I would never consider myself to be a blues player because
Right.
that's like, no. Rock and roll, I'll say that, but the basic vocabulary of rock is blues. So if you want to play rock and roll, you pretty much have to learn that vocabulary. Yeah.
That's a nice way to put it.
Because when I started playing like electric guitar, then I was listening to Led Zeppelin and copying all those riffs and solos. And so you're learning blues by proxy. Like without knowing it, you're learning blues. It's just really fast.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what I consider you the master of tasty licks. I think I've said this to you before. You're so delicious.
Tasty
Yeah, just keep
licks.
ripping. Keep ripping. I can eat them all night.
I'm going to open an ice cream store called Tasty Licks.
And that would be an incredible music venue, actually, too. The music venue / ice cream parlor. We're doing it. Look at 2025. But I consider you like you know every tasty lick in the book. So when I see you playing with everybody in the valley or everybody who comes through Nova Scotia, you're always right. Every note you hit is the right note at the right time, I feel like. Exactly.
I'll tell you another story, maybe.
Hit me.
Unless you want to. Well, Eddie Van Halen. You remember Eddie Van Halen?
Yes.
Now, this would have been maybe the second band I played in. And we weren't so much of a band as a psychedelic excursionary unit.
Okay.
So we didn't really play songs. We just kind of did drugs and jam. So like...
All right.
And then after about 4 hours, it's like...
Collective dissonance.
So we went and played a birthday party, and we did our set. We did our weird freak out stuff. And then this other band got up there and proceeded to play music. And the guitar player in this band, which if any of my Albuquerque homies are listening, it was Eric McFadden. They'll know what I'm talking about. And he got up there and, he was just like tapping and wanging. I think they played like 2112 in its entirety or whatever. Anyway, blew me out of the water. I was shamed. And I remember going home and thinking, man, I can't play in public again until I can go do the things. And so how was I going to learn to do that? I would have to buy the record and take it home and, play to it.
Holy smokes.
So I went to the record store, Budget Tapes and Records, and intending to buy a Van Halen record. And I went into the store, found Van Halen, picked up their record, and I was like, I hate Van Halen. I don't want to play like Van Halen. I hate this shit. And I think I ended up walking out with a used copy of Booker T and the MGs.
Oh,
set,
yes.
The Booker T set. Because it had some Beatles tunes on that.
Oh,
one.
the McLemore Avenue album, yeah.
And it was like,
good.
What's that? I can't. Go. The horse. But yeah, and so I did start. I made a very conscious decision that other dudes could be the fastest. Somebody had to be the slowest. And yeah, and all the bands that followed, like it was my goal to, we might have been playing fast rock and roll, but I wanted to put Chuck Berry in.
Oh.
And if I could get away with, if I could just do that. That's all I just like, I found my niche. And so really I do have Van Halen to thank because basically I went everywhere that was not that.
Right.
And I still cannot do tapping.
You refuse.
I just can't.
Do guitar students ever ask you for Van Halen then?
Yeah. I had a student who, when I was teaching him, he was kind of more like into Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff. He was a really good guitar player, and it still is. And he definitely, like, more Zakk Wylde, I guess, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
And he is. He's, like, blindingly just a ferocious guitar player. But I remember at one point he was like, okay, I've learned how to play guitar. Tell me, what do I need to do now? Like, how do I do this? And I was like, tell you what, man. Buy yourself a bass.
Why did you tell him that?
Well, and he was, I think, offended by that. But here's the thing. If you move to a city, move to Halifax, or you move to Kentucky, or wherever you move to, and you're a guitar player, there's 6,000 other guitar players, and they all have bands, and they don't want you in it.
Right.
If you can play the bass, right, you can get jobs, you can join a band, you can meet musicians, and then at some point, someone's going to get sick or call in or quit or whatever, and you go, oh, hey, I also play guitar. What? Right? But you know the people, right?
Yes, and the tunes.
Yeah. So
Sneaky.
being able to play bass, I think, is a secret for any guitar player.
That's really good advice, man. It's disappointing, but really good advice. I love how real you're teaching kids. It's just no electric tuners. Bring a bass to practice just in case.
Grandpa lessons.
Yeah. Will you play another for me? There was a couple I wanted to throw at you, like
Sure.
Killing Time, but I didn't know if you wanted to pull it out as.
I don't
It's
remember the
quite-
words to that. I like the riff to that.
Or there was another blues from that album. Oh, A Wrong Address Blues.
Yes.
Oh, this song gets me, man. That
It's
whole
a
album,
blues.
Dividing Lines, is so beautiful to me. It's like a little journey through your life and brain.
Terry reminded me to, plug my stuff. So if you go to, I don't do Spotify. I am politically unaligned with that.
I'm so sorry to tell you that this is
Stuff.
going to be on Spotify.
Right. So
But yes,
just
fuck
saying.
Spotify. It's a terrible company.
Bleep it out.
Yeah.
But I do have a lot of stuff up on Bandcamp. There's all kinds of normal stuff. There's all kinds of really weird stuff on there too. And then I also brought CDs tonight.
Yeah.
In faint hope that people still have CD players.
Your Bandcamp, before you jump into this, your Bandcamp is so awesome. Like, there's so many secret projects on there. There is some of the vault stuff, like your Venus and the Fly Traps album.
Yes. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
You released a funk album, March 2020? It was right at the beginning of the pandemic?
My favorite thing is I had my friend Jay do the cover. I found that picture
Cool.
and I sent it to him, and I was like, can you put old LP rings on that picture? And if you look at the picture, it's got the old LP
Very
rings
cool,
on it.
man.
Yeah. Venus Fly. Legendary.
Venus Fly and the Fly Traps, right. So what are you going to play Wrong Address Blues now?
Might as well.
Okay.
Stop my yakking.
This
So
is my
the blues.
friendly heckle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please play it.
I woke up this morning with the blues knocking at my door. I woke up this morning with the blues knocking at my door. Said I didn't send for sadness. Tell me what you come here for. Well, I work long and I work hard, and most times I've been good. Work long and I work hard, and most times I've been good. The blues got the address wrong, all the time misunderstood. He said the rain will find the river, the river will find the sea. Rain will find the river, the river will find the sea. It's just your turn to suffer. Pack your bag and come with me. I said I got me a good little girl. She won't understand. Got me a good little girl. She won't understand. He said, I know that no good woman, and right now she's with some other man. Well, I'm gonna write me a letter, gonna mail it back to my hometown. Write me a letter and send it back to my hometown. It might not say where I'm going, but I sure won't be hanging round. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those songs you play, and then the audience is like, wow, this guy doesn't fuck around. This guy's serious. You've probably played some rowdy bar rooms in your life. Rowdier than this one, eh? You guys are pretty rowdy, though.
You guys are scary. Yeah. Yeah?
You got any strange gigs? I've heard of you playing weddings in people's
my
backyards.
wife is out here laughing hysterically.
Right away, because are they
Where will
innumerable?
I start, Zach?
Please.
My very first gig with a rock and roll band was at the Student Union Ballroom in Albuquerque, New Mexico, February 14th, 1981.
Wow, well done.
And
Hey,
with the Illegal Aliens.
that's a great name.
And went up on stage. We had 2 lead guitar players in that band. We got about halfway through our set, and the other lead guitar player had a grand mal epileptic seizure on stage.
Wow.
And I have a tape of it.
Whoa.
And you can hear him going over and crashing into the PA. It's spectacular. It's like...
Right. As an audiophile, you're like, this is
This
gold.
is awesome in stereo.
Right.
And everybody's freaking out because they think he's being electrocuted, which he is technically, but not from
By his body.
Yeah, and so everybody's screaming like, "Turn your guitar, take your guitar off," and everything. So that was my first gig.
Did you guys actually play after that, or was the gig over? It was.
We actually did play after that, and he actually came back up on stage for the end of the set, and he probably shouldn't have, but
Wow.
he did. He finished the set.
I mean, that's a Joy Division kind of problem, eh? Like,
Yeah.
wow. So you were
Yeah.
off to a big start.
And I've seen lots of faces pounded into hamburger by big biker fists.
You've played like roadhouses and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Like, are we talking New Mexican roadhouses? Again, my fascination.
Yes.
My brain is like,
Yes, we are.
wow, cool. I mean, I say cool. Yeah, you're like,
Biker wakes, biker parties, gunshots.
Jeez, Caleb.
A biker Halloween party,
okay.
which is where the gunshot happened.
So that's a private hire. You guys got specifically asked, like they saw you at another gig. And
Well,
they're
that band didn't actually ever play in clubs. We only ever played at biker dues and public parks and, that kind of thing.
That's wild. Okay, cool.
The aliens.
That's the Illegal Aliens.
The Illegal
I imagine you
Aliens,
guys putting up posters and then getting your show rated by like the
If you
ICE.
go onto Bandcamp, one of the front guys of that band, Cabin Lance, I went back to Albuquerque in 2007 and lashed together. Me and my friend Junius from A Murder of Crows went and found him and had him just run through like 2 CDs worth of tunes, and then I took some of those and overdubbed over them, and that CD is available on Bandcamp. And the I couldn't vouch. I wouldn't invite the guy over to your house. He'll eat all your food.
Yeah. We all have friends like
He
that.
will.
Yeah,
He's
I'm that
just-
friend, to be honest.
He's a professional.
A professional, nice. Yeah.
But I rank him up there as far as the songwriters go, like John Prine, Townes Van Zandt, whatever.
Wow.
He's to me, he's that caliber of a songwriter.
This is Cabin Lance?
Yeah, cabin, but he lives in a backpack, and who knows where he is.
Okay. And did you feel like it was like your role? You felt like you had to go down and record them Lomax style a bit and get these songs?
It's definitely something that I wanted to do. I wouldn't maybe go as far as to say I owed him, but I did feel obliged.
Because you had
Something I wanted to do.
had connections from the biker gig days, eh?
Well, that was my first band. Was playing with him, and so
Cool.
it was all original tunes. So it wasn't like go home and learn these solos and then we'll reproduce this stuff.
Right.
It was like he would just play those tunes, and same as always. They look at you, or they give you the shoulder or the little kick that you see out of the corner of your eye, and that's when you play your solo, and then you improvise that thing. And that was just the first situation where I had to figure that out. And yeah.
Is that when you started writing your own songs too? Is this band Illegal Aliens or?
My own, man, I think I wrote my first song when I was 13.
Oh, awesome!
So that would be before then.
Heartbreak?
No.
Ooh.
Inspired by hearing Ziggy Stardust for the first time. So I think the song was called Laser Boy. And I will not play it for you.
That's wicked. I love how psychedelic a kid you were.
Yeah.
At 13, you're writing
yeah.
a song called Laser Boy. That's really
Yeah.
exciting.
I think psychedelic probably describes my teenage years pretty succinctly. Yes.
Succeedingly.
Succinctly.
Oh, succinctly. That's okay. I felt like I should, on the way here, I was like, should I do Unique New York? Should I be doing that? What do you want to play? I really love how your fingers just lean into it. Like your brain wants a song. And your fingers just do the work for it.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's how it works.
You know how they say, did I warn you about getting philosophical? Maybe I told Scott. So,
Bring it on.
Richard Alpert and all that kind of thing, like be here now.
Okay.
Right? Be here now. I don't believe that. Because as a musician, you're simultaneously anticipating and listening back to, so you're like looking forward just a little bit to what's about to happen and listening back to what just happened. The actual moment doesn't exist.
So you're living in the quantum realm, sort
So
of, when
you
you're
can't
playing
be,
music.
there's no be here now. That's the one place you can't be. You can be everywhere else, but you can't be here now. Because as soon as you're here, you're not anymore. There's no way.
beautiful, yeah.
Like how small is now.
I heard you usually, and you're not tonight, which I'm surprised by, but we're on high stools. You usually play with bare socks, right? Or you take your
What?
shoes off when you play sometimes?
No?
I heard you used to do that.
From who?
Oh, from a guy named Andy that we know. But maybe that wasn't true.
I have never played in bare
Never
feet.
played in bare feet.
And-
Okay, that's such false information.
Yeah. So
All right. I just feel like because you have a way of
I
connecting
had
to the
a
moment.
bass player step off the stage in bare feet once while she had her bass around her onto the grass of a park and zapped her. That's another electrocution story.
Wow, right.
I mean,
Wet grass.
She got back on the wood stage right quick.
Boy. Okay.
And then I remember refusing to get on stage with the band because the guitar player showed up in Birkenstocks.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not playing tonight if you're wearing those.
You
on
don't want to
stage.
die. Yeah, you don't want to watch somebody. But you're scarred from that first experience.
Maybe. Well, yeah. Not that he was going to get electrocuted in Birkenstocks. I just thought it was
Still a
gross.
risk. Oh, it's gross. Shorts on stage. Do you have a rule around that?
There are pictures of me, but see, that's Albuquerque. It's really hot in Albuquerque, and they were long shorts. They down to the
Listen,
knees.
boy,
Yeah.
if you play in Texas swing, you wear full pants in my band. You hear?
And a suit.
and a suit
tie.
and a Kentucky bow tie.
So this song is dedicated, as always, to the memory of Annie Edson Taylor.
Who is she? You left quite the gap, so I
I was
have to
waiting
ask.
for everybody to go, woo! So Annie Edson Taylor was the first human being to successfully go over Niagara Falls in a barrel
Right.
at the age of 63.
Wow. Well, I mean, what does she have to lose?
Right. Well, she did it because
you for
she was hoping to make money from it.
Yeah.
And she didn't. She didn't make a dime off of
Jeez.
it. And yeah. But yeah, 63-year-old woman went over
Oh,
in a barrel.
You choose such dark heroes to write about.
Well, I mean, someone's got to
What was
cover
her-
everything.
What was
yeah?
her name again?
Annie Edson, Edson Taylor.
Okay.
Annie Edson Taylor.
So this is dedicated to the memory of Annie Edson Taylor.
Yes.
Wow, there it is.
Yeah. It's called Of Titans and Ophelia. Sweet Ophelia, nobody's seen her. She won't answer my calls. Strapped in a barrel, airtight and set in the river, right above the falls. So many questions that were hidden in her smile. It seems any answers have to wait for a while. Hey Prometheus, you never come to see us. You'd rather hang out alone. You're up against the wall, still you've got a lot of gall. They never did find the bones. You always had that certain sparkle in your eye, but now we know it's just a trick of the light. Tell me, Methuselah, drunkard who outlived his children, what wisdom from your lips Floodwaters rising, full steam ahead. Damn the icebergs, we will not sink our ships. They're selling tickets to a once-in-a-lifetime ride. Flaming balloons jump to your death or burn alive. The keys to the kingdom made of gold have turned to lead. And just past the rapids they found poor Ophelia dead. Thank you.
Most beauteous, dude. I love that line, "Hey Prometheus, you never come to see us." And I feel like that makes me realize too how you have a lot of historical references. Kind of. Do you read a lot of history?
I don't feel like I do.
Do you like history, or does it just bum you out like most people?
Well, I mean, I enjoy reading it, and it definitely bums me out.
Does it inspire song in a way though for you, or
It can. I mean, I guess it provides a base foundation of what is evidently human nature.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I mean, that song is, I mean, it's a blues song, really.
right?
Humans, we're smart enough, we could make things better, right?
But-
There's no reason why we can't all just get along.
I know.
And yet we consistently, repeatedly, and almost obsessively faceplant ourselves.
It's nice way to put it.
And there's nowhere that you can, in history, that you can find, no example of that. It's just, that's what history is. It's the record of the faceplants, right?
All of our greatest failures recorded on papyrus paper.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's how you look at it. Because you're digging through books about hangings and stories about people going over falls. So, like, it's pretty dark material to work with, and then make such beautiful songs out of it. That's what I find interesting too. Is that you do put it to like really like major chords and some jazzy harmonies too, and you play with the darkness.
Sure, I guess. Like, I'm not, that's not what my intention is, but...
Do you see like a humorous irony in all that darkness, or like of history?
Well,
or do
I
you...
mean, dude, look around you. It's like you can... We're all... there's no bombs are raining down on us right now.
right.
So
Lucky
we
us.
are in the privileged position of being able to appreciate... I mean, I guess the way I look at it is that this is very precious, and it can all turn to shit really quick, right? So, there's that tarot card, the Fool,
Okay.
right, where he's walking along, la, da, 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 and the sun's shining, and his little dog is yapping and everything, and is right on that precipice, right? And
Like on a cliff's edge.
yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, laughter and irony. I guess those are all fun things to work with when you're writing a tune.
You enjoy the cautionary tale.
Maybe that's just how I learned. It's like not using the guitar tuners, not doing digital editing.
Yeah.
It's just like listening to music. For some reason, when I started getting into, rather than just listening to what was there in the house, but when you started going out and seeking out music, at that 14, 15-year-old age where you start identifying with things, I mean, this was 79, 80 kind of, which was a really interesting period in music because
Duke Ellington had just died, so it was over, right?
Elvis also had died.
Wow.
Keith Moon had died. Well, and so Zeppelin, that was over. The Beatles were long over. Like, so all the sort of that first blah, that was kind of done. New wave was coming along. Blah, 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 blah. But if you turned on the radio, like, you would hear all of it. You would hear Boston and Fleetwood Mac and Stones and Elvis Costello and Dire Straits and Pretenders and Talking Heads and yeah, it was, and you don't get that anymore. But for whatever reason, for the most part, I was always interested in what came before, you know, like,
Oh, you dug.
yeah, Yardbirds, you know, like where did Jimmy Page come from? The Yardbirds, and listening to John Mayall, and then you're listening to the early Stones, and then you're listening to Chuck Berry and Howlin' Wolf, and then you're listening to, you know, whatever.
Cool.
Blind Lemon Tangerines, and it just, you go back as far as you can, and I've always just been really interested in going, you know, if I see on YouTube, you know, some guy with a flute transcribing, you know, music from a Sumerian tablet, man, I'm clicking on that. I want to hear it.
Really? You want to hear the oldest recording possible? Cool. I dig that. Me too. That's like the whole ethos of this podcast is like capture people now, because honestly, in 200 years, maybe this is that recording that somebody dusts off and goes like, what is a podcast?
We were just talking here about, you know, listening to things like Memphis Jug Band and Gus Cannon and all these like early things pre-World War II.
Wire recordings and stuff.
And it's amazing, like all that stuff represents this really tiny fraction of what survived, because they took those 78s and melted them down
during the war,
World War II, right?
Yeah.
They were asking people to bring their records in for the shellac. And old Harry Smith, you know, or whatever, goes around collecting these things and hoarding them. And so the stuff that we get to hear today is like really, it's like fossils. It's like dinosaur fossils. You find it, and it's like to realize like how bizarre it is that this thing has made it.
Do you write like that with that in mind? Because you put out so much music, which is genreless in a way. Like, you're not bound by any particular genre on any particular album, it seems. So do you get stuff out because you're like, for posterity and for the sake of it being recorded? No. No, because I think one of, you know, Elon Musk's satellites is going to collide with another satellite, and it's going to create this field of debris, which is going to rain down flaming metal radiation and knock out the electricity, and we won't have anything to play music on. I think all of our current history is going to be wiped out, you know, in a flash of a second. I'm etching this whole podcast into grooves on stone, actually, so that one day...
Well, I mean, we were just watching this thing on the Rosetta Stone the other day. Like, the Rosetta Stone,
right?
Now that is a permanent medium.
That's so cool. Right? What a great idea back then.
Yeah.
Let's translate every language using one stone.
Put it into rock.
Yeah. Do you want to put rock on rock? I'm down. This might be a cool next project. Let's get a grant and get funding to put music in rocks on the Bay of Fundy so that it can be found. What if that's actually what stones are? Like, when you go down to the water and you pick up a stone, you just end up throwing it. What if that's from another planet and that's their music etched onto stones?
And we just don't have the player.
No, we just pick it up and we're like, oh, look, watch how many skips I can get out of it.
I do think
it's skipping.
When I do pick up a rock and throw it in the ocean, I can hear that rock going, God damn it, it took me 4 billion years to get up on this beach. And now you're throwing me back? Like,
just because you're bipedal doesn't mean you have the right.
Yeah, totally.
It's so true.
So unfair.
Where do you want to go next musically? You're not bound by genre. You've played instrumental. You've played some blues. You've even rocked out.
Here, let's do...
Oh,
a request.
yes.
Okay, we'll have
Thank you.
A request.
For the listeners who couldn't hear that, I will put the audience level up, but for the listeners who couldn't hear that, somebody just yelled Portland Rain, which, oh, what a song. What a song. Actually, this is the next song after Titus and Ophelia, right?
Yeah.
Whoa, nice. You're going through the album tonight.
Cosmic.
Song by song. I feel like you should do a classic albums live at some point of Caleb Miles albums. Would you guys sit through a night of Caleb playing every album he's ever released?
Like just play the CD?
No. Yeah. Actually, one of the bartenders told me tonight that she thought tonight was a live podcast. So she was like, people are just going to come and sit here and listen to podcasts? No. But yes, Portland Rain is a great request. I'm so glad you requested this.
You could do a pod. It's like when you take a picture of a mirror and a mirror and a mirror. You could like play this podcast back and record it. And then
Feedback loop. And then I'll be going, 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 and then I'll be going.
Yeah.
Like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Again-
that's your sound project.
Again, drugs.
You have full rights to these recordings, too, so please.
Again, as my wife will tell you, there was this guy who used to come to shows. And he was tone deaf. He knew it. And it wasn't, it wasn't a thing. But he came up to me, like a set break or whatever. He's like, man, that was great. What is that little tune that you play in between every song? And I was like,
Oh,
what? He's like, there's that little song that you play in between every song. And I was like, what are you even talking about?
That's the
But I
sweetest
figured out it was... He thought that was a little song. And yeah, that's why they invented guitar tuners, so that you wouldn't have to listen to that song.
You sweet, sweet tone-deaf
is.
fool. That is like...
Standing outside the station, waiting on a train. Get me out of Albuquerque, take me back home again. A suitcase and $10, and a life gone down the drain. There's only one thing I know that could soothe this pain. The Portland rain. She said this isn't working. I could see that for myself. Not another word was spoken. The last hand had been dealt. Well, then the entire situation exploded in my mind. And I just left her sitting there. I didn't even say goodbye. In the Portland rain. In the Portland rain. I've been up and down this road, and it's a hard highway. Nashville to El Paso, Las Cruces to LA. Seen friends of mine whose happiness was 3 kids and a wife. But I could not be tied down to that kind of life. It's time to move on before winter rolls around. The leaves are falling early, color carpeting the ground. Kick back and lay low, let time heal my wounds. There's a woman there I know, and I'd like to see her soon. The Portland rain, the Portland rain. Portland rain.
Get out of town. That's beautiful. Get out. Stop. I would push you off the stool if I could.
Yeah, bitch.
That's so fucking beautiful, man. Yes.
Oh, thank you, man.
Is that pretty true? Is that one of those songs that's like really, where you suitcase in hand, $10? Yes.
There's many ways to write a song.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I guess we're doing a podcast, so I get to reveal the thing. That song, the way that was written was I had written this one song that was like kind of a soul thing or something, and it had a line in it that was like, "Meet me in the Portland rain," or some kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I wrote this song, and I was trying to figure out how to play it, and I was like, man, I'm never going to play this. Like, it is just not my song to sing. It was like maybe somebody else could, Barry White or something.
Right.
Could
Was it
pull
like
this off.
Portland rain, Portland rain?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, read me in the Portland rain. It was, yeah. So
Nice.
that ended up back in the notebook, and I was writing. And then I wrote this other thing that was like supposed to be kind of this cinematography kind of, it was almost like a Bonnie and Clyde thing. I wanted it to be this man and a woman who were doing bad things, and their life was going off the rails, and I wrote a whole bunch of verses about them, but I didn't know where they came from, and I couldn't figure out what happened to them. So it was like these 10 verses of the middle of this story with
Cool.
all this stuff and rhymes and everything, and that didn't work either, and so that ended up back in the notebook. And then one day I was sitting down with the guitar, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I found that, all those verses, and I changed it from he. It used to be, he was standing outside the station waiting on a train with $10 and all that stuff. He was doing this, and she was doing that, and they were doing these things. And I changed that all to the first person.
Right.
And effectively by not even putting I in there, just standing
Yeah.
at a station waiting on a train.
Right. Interesting.
And I had all that. So it was like I was writing this verse, okay, that's, I can take these lines, they'll fit. They fit into this thing. And I was like, okay, I was standing at the station waiting on a train. Albuquerque, okay, we'll get back home again. Suitcase and $10. Life gone down the drain. Only one thing I know to soothe this pain. And then I went, shit. And then I remembered, wait, right, Portland Rain.
Cool.
And I had that first verse, and I was like, there it is. And then I just modified all those other verses and put Portland Rain at the end of it, and I had a song. So
Cool.
that's one of those things where that's the process of not like sitting down and going, I'm going to write about my life and
Yeah,
I'm going to, tell the story. It was a hack job. It was like, I've taken this from here and this and here and jamming them together in this thing, and there
That's
it is.
cool to know that you write like that, because that's its own
Sometimes,
challenge.
sure, yeah, sure.
Oh, so it's the secret notebooks as well as the secret recordings. Good
Here's
to know.
a cool thing to do is you can do it with words or you can do it with lines too. Say you come up with 10 really cool, interesting words that you
Okay.
would like in a song that you've never used before.
Flabbergasted.
And then I make a
Oh,
list of
sorry.
my 10
Okay.
words, and then we switch our lists. And I look at your words and I come up with just quick responses. So you say blood and I'm like knife, and pear. And
Oh, the
I'm
free
like,
association.
you know,
Yeah.
golden or whatever, and you just come up with these random words to your words. And then we switch the list back, and you have to write lines with my responses to your words, and I do likewise. And then you take those lines and mush them together. And
Have you
get a
done that
song.
with other
Yes, I have.
songwriters?
Yeah, well, once I did it once,
That's so cool.
and it was a cool song. Yeah.
That's such a cool idea.
Yeah. And me and Ryan have written things.
Ryan Huppen?
Ryan Hutman.
Awesome.
Where he's just sent me lines, and I send him like on Facebook writing, where we just like trade
yeah.
things back and forth. And he says that he's written songs that I've contributed to, and I still don't really know which song it is. But
I was talking to Chris Robinson about that when he was on this podcast, about him and Scott
Yeah.
Prudence, who is at the back of the room, and I can't wait to talk to you soon. We have to talk. They write by text, like they
Yeah.
text each other verses and stuff, and that's so cool.
which
and
is really nice,
futuristic to
because if
me.
you're like sitting down actually eyeball to eyeball, it's kind of high pressure. You know, it's like, what are we going to do? You probably end up drinking a lot.
right,
Because there's going to be awkward moments of like, I don't know
yeah.
what comes next.
Thus the
But
blues
doing
is
it
born.
in text is cool, because you can text and then you can take, it can come right away, or it could take a couple hours or a couple days, and it doesn't matter. You're not sitting there, right?
Yeah, I love that you like the free association exercises like that. It's like jazz
Yeah.
for your brain, really. Like,
Yeah, definitely. Like, and, I grew up with Dylan, right? So, good stuff.
have you ever cut lyrics up from like a magazine and scattered them out and then arranged them? Like, I feel like wasn't that how Ziggy Stardust is kind of born?
I know of a Stone song that was done that way,
Oh wow.
and Bowie would do that
yeah.
a lot. Later, probably more like Lodger, I think. That album.
Nice.
No, not specifically,
You haven't.
but I know of that process. Yeah.
Now that you mention people that you've co-written with, and Ryan Hutman, and we've talked about Scott Prudence. Actually, you just played with Scott Prudence on his string of album release shows, right?
He.
Congrats, Scott.
His last CD. We went and we cut that in 2 days, 2 afternoons,
days?
live off the floor.
Oh, it sounds so good too.
And Scott, I think, Ryan and Scott Hutman, I think knew the songs, but I didn't know them. Jeff, I don't think knew them.
Jumping
so
in
we were hearing
cold.
them for the first time, and like, oh, okay, let's do this, let's do that. Let's,
2 days. Long days?
afternoons, 6,
Oh.
7 songs the first day, and the rest of them the next day, and
I love the way you guys
zippity-doo-dah,
work.
man.
That's
That was
beautiful.
cool. That's the way to do it. I love it. And I can't do that. Like by myself, it's just me. So that's why I was saying, like with getting complete takes and stuff like that, like a solo, it's got to be, I have to play it.
You have
from
time to
beginning
obsess
end.
over it too with mixing, right?
Well, I guess there's that. Although, if there's one thing I've learned from doing, my level of home recording or whatever, it's that don't put the time and the effort into putting that mic in front of the amp and capturing the sound
Yes.
of something interesting. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be cool. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it has to be close to what you want. And the more effort you put in on that side of it, then when you get to the mix, it should just be putting up levels and panning things.
Nice.
You know, like when I find that I'm like trying to decide whether it needs more 2.5K or 3.2K, it's like yeah.
You're losing sight of the point of
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
You're so dedicated to the reality of recording and sound in general. I like that you like found sounds and stuff too. Oh, that's sweet. Someone brought you water.
Thank you, someone.
That's so considerate. Oh.
My wife and savior, Angela Reynolds.
Oh, thank you, Angela. Wait, so your wife was the one asking me about friendly heckling me the whole time?
She's a what do they call that? A plant, a shill.
A shill? A plant sounds nicer than a shill. Like a house plant?
No. That's a house plant.
Ah, that's got to be fake. For the listeners, there's a plant right in front of the stage. Actually, man, that must be obstructing somebody's view. No.
How about now?
Somebody else's problem now. All right. I do want to get into. We didn't really mention, like, you've played. I'm going to say all the stuff off the top probably, but you've played with like everybody in the province at this point. You must have.
Everybody?
It seems consistent. Like,
You know, and here's what the interesting thing about the last, what I realized, like, wow, it's been 4 years since I played a solo gig. And I have done gigs with the Hutman Brothers because, you know.
what does that mean? Yeah,
Yeah,
because they asked you.
Well,
You wouldn't
no,
say
because
that?
it's so fun. It's like I live far enough away from them that's like my opportunity to just hang out with them is to do a gig, right?
Because you live 45 minutes or so from
An
where
hour,
we are right now.
an
You have
hour
a full
and
hour.
5 minutes from their pad. So if we were neighbors or something, then maybe I wouldn't do gigs with them because I'd just be hanging out with them. I don't know. I forgot what we were talking about.
Just that you've played with everybody and you like get a taste of playing, I guess.
Right,
by
and I
joining
guess
up with-
that's just like you don't say no, right? Anybody who asks you to play or do a gig or whatever it is, you do it. You're on it. And I think, you know, the more, if people are asking you to play with them or to come and play a show and you do it, then I'm assuming that they must be getting something out of that, like they're enjoying it or whatever it is. And so you just consistently say yes. And when the whole COVID thing happened, all those gigs got wiped out, is basically I realized that I could just say no.
Okay.
And so that's what I've
that's-
been working on this last 4 years, is just being the no guy. Like,
Looking in a mirror.
I don't
going,
anymore. Yeah.
No. You can't say no.
Yeah. And it's been really good. I'm like really happy with, I mean, physically, spiritually, mentally, I feel like really healthy. I was kind of just in a burnout, you know, when toast is in the toaster for too long. It's all crispy and hard. And that's how
I'll
they
still
felt.
eat you. sorry. You just shuddered so hard.
Edit. It's the miracle of edit.
Boing.
Swing.
Yeah. Sorry. I told you I'd turn red during this interview, and I just did it to myself. Yeah, just that you played with everybody, and you're such a like important community member here in this music scene to me, especially because some of the first posters I ever saw were the Last Waltz posters.
That was a good show.
That show that you put
Bob
on
was on
here.
that show.
Bob? Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you got a huge, crazy cast of musicians from around the province, even really, to come up to Wolfville, play at the Al Whittle Theater, and do a Last Waltz tribute show.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That was a good show. The first one was good, and then the second one was It was bananas.
Really?
Yeah.
Like as bananas as the DVD?
It was just one of
or-
those things, like, I think, because we did 2 shows on that night, right?
Oh.
We did a 5 o'clock and a 8 o'clock or something, I don't remember. But the first show, it's like we had practiced and practiced and practiced, and then we went out, and it was like, you know, you're kind of nervous, and we did the show, and it was well received, and we got through it. And then with the second show, it was like, we know we can do this. And we went out, and I just remember when we started playing the first tune, and it was just like, you get that thing from the audience, like before you even sung a note. It was just like, they were there with us, and they were ready to rock, and we were ready to rock, and it was just a really good show. It's the way shows are supposed to be.
That's such a cool show to organize, too. And actually, Deep Hollow Print, who did the poster for it,
That was like one of their first posters. Yeah.
Laura credits you with helping her out big time and launching that whole business. Because to me,
Wow.
Deep Hollow Print was responsible for every gig poster I saw in the Valley.
Yeah.
And to me was like, holy shit, there's like a really cool scene happening here where they make their own posters. People are organizing huge benefit
well,
shows.
I mean, I felt like the poster itself elevated the show before it happened to a level, right, of like, we have to do a good show because look at this poster.
Nice. Yeah.
You know,
Great
I mean,
job,
it
Laura.
sounds weird or like trifly or something, but it was like, man, this is a really hot poster.
Big leather press printed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's good shit.
So
Good times.
I told you I would try not to fawn over you all night, but seriously, you're a very integral member of this scene, and you built it up. So I'm glad to see you playing here tonight. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for asking me, man. It
Hell
was
yeah.
Good. And thanks for coming, everybody. We could have gone over to Zach's house and done this podcast with just the two of us.
Just
but
the two of us,
This
yeah.
is awesome to have all,
And then
all
it
of
would
you
be
here.
really close to you, like the 1 foot from your face.
Okay, Caleb. Now, can you play that one song?
I really like Portland Rain. Play it again. What are your because you haven't really delved into the music scene that much here, like in Wolfville area. I know you've been out in the Lawrencetown area. What are your hopes for the music scene in Nova Scotia, since you haven't played too much of your own stuff, but you're still gigging with everybody? So what do you really want to see in the music scene happen over the next few years?
Wow, I had no concept of that.
I figured I'd ask you that question because you've played every kind of venue in this province, like the big venues, the smaller venues, the ones that can't pay, the ones that can pay but don't want to, the ones that do pay ridiculously well when they probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know, and there's like a pretty wild music scene here that isn't very well supported by organizations sometimes.
Yeah, when has it ever been?
Mm-hmm.
It would be my reply to you, because when I first started playing in bands,
That's the point of this podcast, by the way. So I love that you
when I first started, which was the early 80s, and I was playing with guys who were, significantly older than me,
Yeah.
like 12, 15 years older than me.
I thought you were going to say
And
they were 12 and you were...
They were 12, and I was 3. And they would say, it's not like it was in the 70s, right? So even then, and then you build a thing up, and all of a sudden, maybe you got a crowd and things are going good. And then the next wave of, young punk rockers comes along, and you realize that you're the old guard or whatever, and nobody wants to come see you anymore. And then you move somewhere, and it's a different scene entirely, and every little city's got its like core people. And I think I would say it's interesting because on the one hand, I would love for, I guess we're talking kids, if they're coming up. Like, I mean, anybody under 40 is a kid to me now, but like to see people still playing instruments, guitars and basses and drums and singing and trying to actually make that work. Although at the same time, I think rock and roll is well past its expiry date, like 1991.
Okay.
You know, I think
That's when you
that
cut
was kind of the end of rock and roll as I conceive of it anyway, with a couple of exceptions. And sometimes I'll listen to, like, you know, those Bowie and Eno albums, or, you know, late 70s, early 80s kinds of, you know, what was on the edge, you know, new music at that time. And it's still, to me, like new music. I don't think we really went past that. Like rock music anyway, sort of developed, and then it hit this thing, and MTV happened.
Right. Yeah.
Although the 80s had a lot of really amazing bands, underground bands, alternative bands, and then alternative became mainstream, and I don't know what happened after that. I kind of lose the thread, but
You check out at that point. You're done.
I mean, if you looked at my CD collection, you would have to say, yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I think music died with Duke Ellington in '79.
Yeah.
It was over.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but here we are, still making music, the two of us. So
But like, what is the new music? I don't think we've heard it yet, and I don't think. I don't know. It's
I also ask that giant question because it's like venues.
It's like Mongolian rap or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, throat sung rap.
Yeah, or like the Inuit women who Tanya Takak.
Yep.
You know, just things that are just like simultaneously, like you've never heard anything like that. And
Yes.
It's completely mind-blowing and challenging and like, what the hell? But at the same time, it's so firmly rooted in this, like, you know, ancient tradition. That kind of stuff excites me. What that has to do with Wolfville, I don't know. You know?
It's gonna come here. It's inevitable. Like there's so many cultures crossing over here too right now, especially with so many international students, and I think we're gonna see like a wave. If there were more venues that supported different music like that, that's something I would love to see.
Yeah.
Is different spaces for different artists like that. Like the Valley's losing its really unique, cool record store that actually fostered an environment for electronic artists and DJs and stuff like that. Which, did we know we had like a really solid DJ community? No, because there's not that many venues that show it. But I just hope that maybe pay goes up at venues because it hasn't changed in 100 years almost. And that more people start coming out to shows because this is like crazy awesome to see a full room of people too.
Yeah.
So tell your friends about this podcast. And Caleb, do you think you're going to start playing again more if people bothered you like this?
What, like doing solo gigs again?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not an ambition of mine. Like right now, I've been working at the library. I'm a branch supervisor
I'm clapping.
at a branch of the library right across the street from where your wife works.
The Bee's Knees General Store in Lawrencetown.
That's
Hello,
right,
wearing the hat.
Bee's Knees, which I'll put a plug in for that. Although, you know, if you live in Albuquerque or Portland, you can't possibly get there. But
when you do come up here, you'll
if
go
you're
to the
driving
Bee's
through
Knees.
Lawrencetown, you'd be stupid not to stop at the Bee's Knees.
In the Annapolis Valley. Lawrencetown, Annapolis Valley.
We need to do that jingle.
Oh, do you have it written?
I did have words and I had a tune, and
Oh, we'll do it
I
next.
don't have
We'll do it on the
it
next
on
episode. Actually,
But-
when I make like an ad for them to sponsor the podcast at the top,
Okay, there you go.
yeah,
That would
that's
be good.
amazing. Oh, that's such a good. So tell your friends that we'll make Caleb and I will custom make songs for your businesses. How do you want to end this show? What do you want to tell people in the world?
I don't know.
Musically or just personally?
What, with like words?
You
my
can do
thoughts?
both.
I don't know. I don't care.
That's great.
I really don't. Like,
Good luck to you.
Yeah. Here's what. Here's
Nice.
what, people. I think us humans are really susceptible to this either or thing. Like, if you're watching the Super Bowl, you have to be for this team or that team.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you can watch the Super Bowl and root for both teams just because you like the game. And that's, I don't know how that really feeds into things, but it's a way of,
It's beautiful.
on the one hand, I think all of this is going to come crashing to a fiery end. But at the same time, I think it will continue.
Yeah.
And it will be good.
That's what a volcano is, right? An island is born out of terrifying situations.
Yeah. And we're all going to die. So.
Hey! High five! Okay.
But yeah, that should be a reason to live every day at your best,
Nice.
right?
Nice turnaround.
You know?
Yep. Now, how would you end the show musically? What's your message to them musically?
Like my last song? You're saying?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Well, the song I was going to play would be I'll do that one because it's about death.
No way. Are you? Yeah.
Yes. Make sure I got my capo in the death position on the death,
Yeah.
a death fret.
DATH. That's good.
Let's see. How does this go? See, it's not on the death threat.
Oh, didn't sound dark enough to you?
Yeah, it's got to be down there.
How about a round of applause for Caleb coming out tonight?
Thank you all for coming. Next time we do this, I'll try to play more and talk less.
The whole point was talking.
Yes. That was the premise.
I won't be here next time. How about
That's
that?
what sold me on the thing. Come
All right,
crawling out of
play your song
retirement.
about death to
So
send
this
me home.
is called Last Call, and it's about the bar at. It's like you die and you have to go to this bar before you go to wherever you're going to go. Miles to go and nothing to lose. Holes in the soles of your walking shoes. Right about now you feel your fate's been shaken. Come as you are to the bar of the lost and forsaken. Tears and regret, you've had your fill. If death don't get you, then living will. Don't even mention the time that it's taken, 'cause time passes slow at the bar of the lost and forsaken. The clock keeps ticking, you can't fall asleep. The dreams you let fly and the nightmares you keep. We all wear the mask, we all pretend we're not faking. We've saved you a seat at the bar of the lost and forsaken. keeps ticking, you can't fall asleep. The dreams you let fly and the nightmares you keep. You might think that you're alone, but you'd be mistaken. We've saved you a seat at the bar of the lost and forsaken. You ask for selection, man, you've got nerve. Well, bitter dregs is all that we serve. But there's plenty of friends here for the making. Come raise your glass at the bar of the lost and full. At the bar of the lost and forsaken.
Do you have like a jingle, like do 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 do, Zach?